Welcome back, listeners. I'm Hari.
And I'm Kimi. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating universe of cognition, the mental processes that govern how we acquire, store, retrieve, and apply knowledge.
It is literally what is happening in your brain right now as you listen to us. Did you know the word cognition itself has a long lineage? It comes from the Indo-European root know, meaning to know, which led to the Latin cognoscere. The earliest English record of the word cognition dates all the way back to 1447.
That is a long history of knowing, and cognition is not just one big blob. It's typically categorized by function. It starts with basic processes like perception and attention, which are the gateways of information.
Yes, perception takes messy raw stimuli like light and sound and turns them into a coherent experience. But our brains have to take shortcuts, or heuristics. For instance, visual perception assumes objects keep their size and color even when the lighting changes. Sometimes these shortcuts backfire, creating optical illusions.
And attention acts as the filter. It is what allows for the cocktail party effect, how you can focus on a single friend's voice in a room full of shouting people. It keeps us from being completely overwhelmed by sensory overload.
From there, information goes into memory. We have working memory, which acts like a dynamic scratch pad, and long-term memory. Long-term memory is incredibly diverse. You have episodic memory for personal experiences, like your last summer vacation.
And semantic memory for structured facts, like knowing that water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius. But then there's procedural memory, which handles skills like riding a bicycle or typing. It's implicit, meaning it operates automatically. You know how to do it, but you'd struggle to explain the exact physics of keeping your balance.
Exactly. Now, when we manipulate these mental representations, we are thinking. That involves reasoning, problem-solving, and decision-making. In logic, we have deductive reasoning, where a conclusion must be true if the premises are, like Socrates is mortal because all men are mortal.
And we also have non-deductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning is general, like assuming all ravens are black after seeing 1,000 black ones. Abductive reasoning is what doctors use. They look at a rash and fever and infer the best explanation is chickenpox.
Finally, decision-making also relies on heuristics. We often use the availability heuristic, prioritizing easily accessible information, or the anchoring heuristic, sticking to the first reference point we hear. While efficient, these lead directly to cognitive biases, where our thinking deviates from logical rationality. And don't forget language. Language is a structured communication system that some theorists believe heavily shapes our thought patterns, a concept known as the Whorfian hypothesis. The sheer complexity of language production is mind-boggling. Before we speak, we go through lexicalization, first isolating an abstract idea, and then retrieving the actual sounds to pronounce the words.
That process happens incredibly fast, and while we are aware of some thoughts, many are completely unconscious. Controlled processes, like solving a math problem, require active effort. Automatic processes, like recognizing a familiar face, happen without us even realizing it.
Speaking of face recognition, did you know that cognitive disorders can selectively impair these processes? Prosopagnosia is a condition where people cannot recognize faces, even though their other visual faculties are perfect. It shows how modular the mind really is.
It's like a computer with a faulty graphic card but a working hard drive. That brings us to theories of the mind. Classical computationalism suggests the mind is literally a computer manipulating symbols. Some even propose we have an internal language of thought called mentalese.
But connectionists disagree. They model the mind as a complex neural network of nodes processing information in parallel, much like modern deep learning. There is also 4E cognition, which argues our minds are embodied in our bodies, embedded in our environment, enacted through action, and extended into our tools.
So your notebook or smartphone is literally an extension of your memory. That's a fascinating perspective. It actually echoes ancient Chinese philosophy, which emphasized the connection between cognition and behavior, anticipating enactive cognition.
And ancient Indian philosophy divided the mind into faculties like manas for sensory processing and buddhi for judgment and intellect. They've been debating the sources of knowledge, or pramana, for thousands of years.
How does all of this develop? Jean Piaget famously proposed 4 developmental stages, moving from the sensory motor stage in babies to formal abstract operations in teenagers. Lev Vygotsky, though, argued that social interaction and language are the main drivers of cognitive growth.
And we must remember, cognition isn't just for humans. Animal cognition shows birds navigating spatial maps and chimpanzees learning numerical concepts. Even plants have a basic form of information processing. Maple trees can warn each other of herbivore attacks using airborne chemicals.
A talking forest, that is incredible. Today, fields like cognitive psychology, neuroscience, and cognitive science try to map these levels, utilizing tools like fMRI and EEG to study blood flow and electrical activity in the brain.
We've also applied this to education through cognitive load theory, which helps educators avoid overloading our limited working memory, and to therapy through cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, which restructures dysfunctional thought patterns.
It's incredible to see how a discipline that officially took off during the 1950s cognitive revolution has blossomed into so many facets of our daily lives.
It really has. Well, that is all the time we have for today's episode. Thank you for listening, everyone. Keep exploring those minds of yours.
This episode is based on the Wikipedia article Cognition, which is available under the Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike license. This podcast was crafted using artificial intelligence.